Oh.
Or live stream. All right.
We can call it to order.
We call the meeting to order.
Call the meeting to order. This is an official scheduled meeting of the Historic Resources Commission of the City of Albany. In attendance this evening, Commissioner Tobin, Commissioner Hacker, myself, John Myers, the chair, and online we have Commissioner Tobin. Aaron Glennon from the planning office is representing us, as is Christopher Lohman, our historic preservation planner, and Jason Thomas, thank you, our from the Corporation Council is providing legal advice. What's that?
And I think he said Aaron twice.
Oh. Okay. Commissioner Kaplan, pardon me. I declare we have a quorum with, is this sanctioned with Commissioner Tobin, or?
Yeah, due to unexpected circumstances, she's attending for the first portion of the meeting virtually, which is an exception that is permitted in both the City Code and Open Meetings Law. Specifically, Open Meetings Law, Section 103A, 2C, which allows unexpected factors or events which preclude the member's physical attendance at such meeting to allow for virtual attendance. And I double checked as well with the opinions of the State Department. They say the right to participate by video conference includes the right to count toward a quorum and to vote. However, just err on the side of the caution, we're going to wait until she appears in person to hold the final vote. But she's going to be present virtually for purposes of the discussion, so that when she does arrive for the vote, she will have been apprised on everything that was discussed and can cast an informed vote.
Thank you for that extraordinarily concise legal analysis, and appreciate the research and the guidance. Let's see, I don't know if we have anybody signed up to comment, and this is going out on YouTube, so we certainly invite, don't invite comment, but we're just saying that welcome YouTube viewing of this proceeding. Again, the item of business, this is a public hearing. The item of business this evening is 43 2nd Avenue, and this is a return visit for specific request within the certificate of appropriateness. The commission at the prior meeting had already rendered opinion on windows, masonry repointing, and doors, and other factors. And what we are looking at this evening is the proposal to paint the building as opposed to any other options. This is in the South End, Groesbeckville Historic District, and we invite Nick Maxuni to provide.
I have a procedural question. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting where much of this was discussed, and I have some questions and don't know. I'll tell you what they're about, and then you will tell me whether they're appropriate for discussion. So I have a pretty good feel, and I'm assuming we'll be talking about it, the whole issue of the masonry restoration and the painting, or the painting rather. So I understand that. First off, thank you for taking on this project. It's really extraordinary. It's a really important building and such an anchor there. You're not using any public funds or tax credits, so it's really our review. There's no other historic preservation review. Okay. So one question is we don't typically, of course, deal with any of the interior, although we saw many photographs here, but the interior framing has an impact from the exterior. where the framing is right up at the, up tight to the exterior wall. So that's a question. A second question I have is, there's a lot of masonry restoration required. And I don't know if there were other documents that you all saw or a more comprehensive package about repointing. I mean, there's some just comments here about use a soft mortar, but it's not very comprehensive, and I don't know what you all saw. And I guess, Chris, maybe that question is to you, but it's a big project.
Mhm.
And so the extent of repointing, the difference, the kind of the matching of the mortar, certainly the prep of the mortar is a big deal. Different approaches and treatments for the stone masonry from the brick masonry. And so I have quite a bit of questions around that. The windows, it looks like you all went through and the decision's been made on that. So I guess those are my questions. Does anyone else, or have you already all discussed in depth the masonry restoration separate from the coating or not? And then what about that framing of the framing that's right up and visible from the exterior?
And just one quick question, since you mentioned you weren't in attendance for the last hearing, and since today is only talking about the brick, I think you more or less answered this question by giving a detailed understanding of the application, but you've reviewed the files, like,
Yes.
you know, perfect. Just make sure you have the familiarity, like the prerequisite before you
Yes,
vote
thank
and
you.
everything.
Yeah.
Sounds like you did, so I just wanted to make
Yes.
sure for the record.
Thank you.
At the previous meeting, there was kind of an overview of the condition of some of the masonry. We had provided kind of a description of it, but I wouldn't say that the board questioned or got into detail about what was required outside of just the covering, so, or anything about repointing and the material that would be used for repointing or any restoration work prior to coating being applied to the exterior of the building. So I think if there are questions about that this evening, now would be the time
Great.
to bring those
Good.
forward and have a deeper discussion about what kind of masonry restoration is entailed as part of the overall building rehabilitation.
Excellent, okay. And what about the wall framing at that's visible from the exterior? That will be visible from the exterior?
That did not come up. I mean, most of the interior alterations and things like that were not brought up or discussed. They're all under the purview really of the HRC. I guess what framing, or I guess we can go through this, or if you could identify the framing that will be visible, or how it will be. I guess we need more information about how visible it will be from the exterior to be able to classify whether or not it falls under the purview of the board.
I, of course, understand that we don't typically deal with the interior,
Right.
but where the framing or areas are blocked out by drop ceilings
Flag it, yeah.
or other wall coming in and light being blocked there, and perhaps at odd locations off the floor elevation.
Right.
That's really my question.
And the only way those would be visible would be through existing window openings,
Correct,
the framing that you're talking.
correct.
And that would be, mezzanine levels or sleeping lofts and other partitions that may intersect with a window opening.
That's
The
correct.
windows are being restored or replicated and replaced in kind, in accordance with what was decided at the last meeting.
Well, they're not in kind.
Well, no, they're replacement windows
Okay.
that meet the criteria. And they match the full masonry opening, the setback, all the other features that we usually write into this. What was not discussed at the meeting, but it was discussed when Lee and I visited in the field, was using something like spandrel glass in the window openings where there may be intersections with interior construction, so that you would not the interior construction would not be visible through that window unless it was held back from the window an appropriate distance.
Which is pretty typical on a restoration project, is held back, a ceiling drops further back, et cetera, et cetera. So I picked it up kind of from the floor plans, and there's a little bit of discussion, but I didn't study it enough because I wasn't sure how to bring that forward, and if we could continue that discussion. But that's a question, and I guess can we continue that discussion and maybe get a better understanding of it, or I can spend some additional time if necessary identifying where that is. I don't think we have any section drawings, so we'll be limited on some of the information even if we looked at it today, but I could look at it and identify where those concerns are, where's the meeting rails, rooms, et cetera, et cetera. So you can tell me how you'd like me to go about that.
Yeah, we've already passed judgment on elements of the project as identified in the last meeting and the notes from the last meeting. I think it becomes it could be a recommendation that's offered in the record of this meeting, but it doesn't have the same force that the approved certificate of appropriateness has. There would be a question during the inspection periods during construction, whether that would come up, with the treatment of the windows where partitions may intersect or floors may intersect with it, but I don't.
But that's those are the code inspectors.
That's the building department.
Yeah, that's a whole other world. Yeah.
All they have is what's written in the COA. Right. So they're not going to have any real guidance on that.
And I would assume that the windows themselves, as ordered, would need to be addressing these kind of concerns if they're incorporated into the project. Have you had conversations about this kind of internally with your team?
We talked about this, and we talked also on site with Mr. John Mayer, and I forgot the other gentleman. So the way how this goes, and there are only two windows what interfere basically what at this moment are visible, where the where the separation between apartment A and B is in the middle. There is like a 6-inch wall, what you can see from at this stage, what you can see from outside. But when I am done with that kind of windows, I will be blacking out. This will be totally blacked out from inside, and it's not visible from outside. So we had a conversation also with my team. We will be not having a form to see anything there.
So that's where a demising wall of some sort, either between apartments or within rooms, that's where it intersects a window. That's what you're describing.
Yeah.
And so no part of that will be visible from the exterior. It will all be blanked off behind the new window.
Exactly.
The full opening.
Full opening, nothing will be blocked from outside, only from inside. The separation is in between the apartments.
Do you have a detail for that we'd be able to look at?
I do not think that I have a detail because I didn't get asked for detail. And what is?
I would just add too that that's since it's on the interior of the building and the purpose of today's discussion is the painting of the brick. That's really like the purview of the board. Like you can ask questions certainly about it, but it is not like you don't really have to provide any sort of specific documentation on that. So.
But it's visible from the exterior.
No, it's not.
Well,
But so that doesn't affect the painting of the brick, is my understanding. I mean, you know way more about this than I do, certainly, but it seems like it's more of an interior thing. And while it may be visible from the exterior, it's not part of the COA.
Is the glass blacked out, or is it
Not the glass. It's behind the wall, what you are building up will be blacked out, painted in black with the matte black, what absorbs basically lighting.
So the window will be clear and behind it is like this thing is painted black?
With all due respect to you,
I would love to say something on this part. Exterior is historical. Exterior, whatever is visible, I can decide to block all my windows from inside. I block them. I put a sheetrock in front of the window and block the window. So you cannot tell me what I can do inside or not. Not even historical. Because inside I can make a room. I can make a ballroom, whatever I want. So everything what is visible, I will be respecting windows, respecting whatever decision you will have today from the paint. They're respecting all the doors, respecting everything what is visible from outside and what touches inside. So my wall from inside, especially, I shifted 7 inches from the exterior wall where the bricks are, 7 inches on the inside. So in order to have 2 feet clearance from the wall existing to the new window. So this will be not visible definitely from outside. And if required, I can have also the windows if this will be then permitted. I'm not sure about that part. That you guys have to say if I can have the like a mirror window, like the glass, like it's kind of mirror in the street. If I can have that kind of glass on it, and then you will have a solution, but you can not see at all.
are the floor plans that we have current?
Yeah.
So any of the adjustment that you've just described of partitions, that's shown in these drawings?
Shows.
Okay, so I'll leave it to you all to either suggest we continue or don't continue the conversation, but I believe that it's visible from the exterior, and so it is an exterior concern, but Jason will have to kind of give us any guidance.
I mean, I would say that those changes on the interior, though visible through the window, are not under the purview of the board. It does not impact the loss or change of historic material on the exterior of the structure. And there are numerous situations nationally where interior changes may take place within a building. Windows are framed over on the interior, but they remain.
I'm not saying there's no way to treat it, I'm
The
just
openings
asking.
remain and things like that, and if he is doing a treatment on the interior of the structure that, is going to look like maybe window treatments or look like a blacked out window, lights off or whatnot, then really that doesn't fall under our purview.
And then we can move on. Can you go to drawing A07?
I can do that.
Oh.
Gary.
Yeah, you gotta figure out which of us has the power.
Sorry,
Just give me 2 seconds.
she's got special skills too.
I am not,
You got A7? So these are just an example for, as you all deliberate as to whether, the extent to which any conversations would continue on this or not. That's all I really wanted to show you.
If I may say something, if just because it's a historical building, so I will be not able, if I wanted, say, to put this kind of curtains, I will be not able to put them on the window.
No, that's not what really was.
This is the same thing, because this is visible. The curtain is visible. You have a window and you have a curtain. If I decide not to have a curtain, then I don't have a curtain at all. If I want a red bar, I put a red bar. Green, Lakers, whatever I want to have in the curtain. This is this kind of visibility.
I don't think it's really the same, but I'm asking for guidance, and if we can, or if anybody's got, I can just show you which which openings as examples as you all can kind of continue to direct me or not on this topic. Good. Chris, you have your drawings open?
Yeah, the issue is just because Aaron's got to pull up the packet, I think, because since the discussion for tonight was about the exterior of the document.
Okay.
So they're not necessarily the.
So just to finish this, here, for example, when it occurs, this is a very common condition, so I don't have section drawings. So I don't know where all the, how the backside of all of the cabinetry is impacting the opening, what's visible from the exterior. And this one in particular.
That's not a window.
Here's, there's an example of.
Yeah, but that's not a window, that's the door.
Well, anyway, those are the kind of conditions I would ask about if it's appropriate, if you all determine that's appropriate to continue on. Okay, but that's, again, I'm happy to do more, but you'll guide me on that. Okay.
So I definitely understand, I get the point there certainly, and it's, it would potentially be something to discuss if the matter up for like a vote tonight wasn't just the painting of the brick facade, but that's the only thing that's being approved or denied tonight. So I'm not sure that would really have any effect on whether or not the brick should be painted.
No, it's a different.
So there's just nothing for the board to actually vote on when it comes to that.
Okay.
I do get the point that obviously,
That's all.
like through the window, it makes sense certainly, but there's nothing to deny that could impact that, because it's not part of the application right now, if that makes sense. But I do understand the concern.
Yes, but law also, I will talk to the engineer and the architect, and he'll be sending you details. If I get your email address, and you can get it out of.
Through staff.
No issue, you can get in detail how it looks, I have no issue to provide. I
But
know
if
it's not
you, yeah, if
required,
you have that information.
I do
you
not
can
have
send
it,
But if you get it from the architect.
I will ask him to do it for me, I paid for it, I'm glad to pay just for you to show it.
But you can send, if you do get it, you can send that to
Great.
Chris. Yeah. Okay. Distributed it.
So similarly then, the question that I started to ask about the masonry restoration, where the painting is technically, the painting is part of, from my perspective, the painting or the finished coating is part of the whole discussion of the masonry. So we've got masonry painting on the table. So similarly, where does any discussion about the rest of the masonry restoration belong?
And very quickly, just for the record, Commissioner Tobin has arrived at 6:37 in person.
Yeah.
So, where the from what I've gathered from running back upstairs, the documentation that's been provided is the documentation that we've been given, submitted to staff for review. Sorry.
While you were gone, Nick did mention he could send additional stuff, I don't know if that.
Oh,
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
So we,
I
Okay.
said.
Cool, because I was about to just go into like, yeah.
I said, I will do it out of free will, but I, out of the discussion that I will be changing anything.
So I mean, in terms of repointing what could be needed on the masonry versus the stone treatments, all that documentation Nick could provide to us if he chooses. He didn't submit any of it through the prior submissions. Staff's recommendation generally right now is still just that locks on XP and locks on acrylic aren't appropriate coatings as the type of moisture barrier that we expect to trap. They're low permeability paints. Just generally, we still just generally think that they're not approvable masonry coatings by staff. Criteria 375, 206, 1D, 15B requires that all unpainted hard pressed or face brick must be left unpainted. We acknowledge that while there was painting or staining that may have been done inappropriately in patches, the brick still should be left unpainted and restored where possible. If the coating is intended primarily for cosmetic purposes and does not offer a structural protection, the masonry should remain unpainted. As noted in the packet, Karen Macri of Historic Albany spoke with Nick and submitted a written note. And generally just the water repellent, the waterproof coating is not suitable for the brick versus a water repellent coating if one is needed.
So I concur with all of that, and raise questions about some of the other components of the treatment of the exterior masonry. There's, we have a lot more interior photos than we have just these 2 photos. But there's obviously quite a bit of repointing at grade and other locations. There's some brick replacement that needs to occur. I haven't done a close evaluation of areas of repointing, et cetera, but I hope that either today or in the future, we get to kind of have more conversations about the masonry restoration so that we can, so that Nick can benefit from the information, the technical expertise that we collectively have. But I do concur with staff recommendation that we haven't done, we don't have sound testing information to support repainting of the masonry.
Yeah, and I think it was noted at the prior meeting as well that part of our recommendation also comes from we recommend the denial of the painting and that we would work with Nick to provide and do proper repointing and restoration as needed. But as noted at the prior meeting, Nick hadn't performed testing of different materials. As cited in the engineering report, the concern from Forward Engineering is that the testing would lead to further brick deterioration.
It wasn't very comprehensive, the engineer's comments on that. We don't have, we heard damage. It wasn't a good evaluation, the information that they summarized in that letter, from my perspective. We want more information of what pressure, what did you use, how far did you hold your nozzle back, et cetera, just things like that. So if it was real testing, that we got great documentation of, maybe exactly the approach being proposed, we'd feel comfortable with. But I don't, based on what we received.
I guess I'd add, I think this treatment, to Commissioner Kaplan's point, wouldn't be in the best interest of the building, probably not in your own best interest either, because it will likely cause greater brick failure and issues with the stone. So I think that it would be a regrettable decision all around. It might seem like a quick fix, but it would ultimately not be.
I think an alternate approach could be and I believe this was discussed, but with the new windows going in and the work at the roof and the cornice, et cetera, that will pop. And if the brick masonry even was left as is, just kind of brushed clean and left as is, I think it would be a very nice looking contrast to the other new work that's occurring. And at the base, we've got some brick that, some paint that can be carefully removed. We can test it, and there's products that will not cause damage, and probably that in concert with some appropriate cleaning would be very handsome as a final solution.
I have to concur, I've been to the site several times, observing the brick masonry as it currently exists, and as Nick had cleaned it and did a low pressure cleaning of it, so as not to damage it. The brick appears to be in good condition, good sound condition. The mortar joints are visible as opposed to being painted over. So the character of the building is very well expressed. I think you're right, selective cleaning in some areas, testing of cleaning methods. But I think universally the brick looks good. I mean, I don't even think you'd want to stain it at this point, just to unify the appearance of it. I think it will naturally, unify itself over time. And I agree that adding paint, particularly paint of the variety that we've seen here, there's a statement by the representative from Sherwin-Williams that indicates that it will pass vapor, but there's nothing in the testing material that illustrates that. That's when I look at the technical aspects of the paint, it's a paint film. It's an impervious film. If those walls, selective repointing, they're above the stone water table, there's not a lot of repointing that needs to be done, except in the courtyard elevation where there has been some brick damage, and that's not really visible in any of the photos that we have. But there is off of Tuna Street. There, you go back in, there's a courtyard, and there's certainly rebuilding that has to take place in there. But the Tuna Street elevation, the principal elevations that are visible from the public right-of-way, to me, appear to be in good condition and demonstrate the soundness of the construction of the original building. The interior was another matter entirely. That was, and Nick is to be congratulated and thanked for saving this building and putting it back in a productive mode. But again, as for the painting, I just have serious reservations that it would be introducing more of a maintenance headache in the future and could jeopardize the soundness of the brick as opposed to preserving.
The only cases where I've seen the Sherwin-Williams material or like a Kime or another silicate paint is when the brick is already so deteriorated that it's just continuing to erode, and they're kind of acting as a consolidant is what you're looking for. But that's not what we have here. As you say, the brick's pretty sounding.
Yeah. You don't see spalling, large areas of spalling on the face of the brick.
Right.
The hard face is still intact for the most part.
I mean, this should save you money because you don't have to paint the building and you don't really have to do much to it.
You are not saving me any money. You're just costing devaluing the entire neighborhood because it looks like I bought the building even after I changed the windows. It's painted from the city, especially from you. If you really having so much concern with the other dealing with the city itself, that red paint comes from the city, from inspectors or whatever, whoever did it. The building looks like it is literally abandoned. Even after that, after I changed the windows, fix the doors, and do all my investment inside the building, I took care of the building because I bought it like this. I didn't buy it fixed. I took care about the building. I want to keep the character of the building, but also I want to make sure that I get some value back on it. I'm not the historical department. It's you. If you guys really want to clean it, fix it, I'm happy to accept any donation or any job what you guys are ready to do it. I cannot because first the stones are stained already. Bricks are stained. its existing condition, I didn't do it. I bought this building exactly how you have it. Just somebody did more graffiti, whatever, in one corner. And so somebody from the city repainted it red again. So I cannot leave this building like we are seeing it, because the value of the neighborhood, especially that part, needs to go up also for me. And we'll be looking also better, cleaner. You will be seeing the bricks. I'm not doing stucco outside. It will be, after I paint, you will be seeing the seeing the brick, seeing the joint, seeing everything else. The stone will be getting a little bit darker tone in order to keep it as original as possible, But also it has to make the investment for my side has to make also sense. If I leave the building like it is, like you see it right now, the investment doesn't make sense. It devalues the building probably for $700,000-800,000 because of the look, because of the neighborhood. In order to make it attractive also for investors, for me, basically for the bank, whatever it is, in the future, the building has to have the big value. And if historical really decides not to let me do something cosmetic from outside, it kills my project itself. I invested close to $2 million already inside the project, and because somebody tells me now you cannot paint because you already painted. This building belonged already to the city or whoever owned it before, basically was staying at the time from the city, not from me. This was 30 years probably stayed. So if I wait
a question, if I may. So we, I think from your previous discussions and some of the discussions today, there's concern about repainting. And we're just in a public hearing tonight. And if it's a financial hardship, that's a different path that is not part of this discussion. Is that we're doing our work, which is what is our technical review of this proposed project? That's our job. If there's something else that's financially in a financial hardship, that's a different path.
Correct, yes. So in order to apply for.
I'm not applying for nothing.
For
I'm
a
sorry.
hardship modification, which is a waiver, a certificate of appropriateness needs to be denied. The applicant would then need to provide a number of both financial information, that there are no other options and that it's not a self-created hardship to be able to proceed with the application, the denied application. We've done it at least once for the property on Clinton Avenue, the Salvation Army on Clinton Avenue.
Right.
But it would need to receive a denial in order to do that, but then provide a number of, both financial information and other, justification based on other information provided of alternate routes that he's explored to achieve, either restoring the brick or painting the brick of, other material options that are available that may not be feasible. There are a number of things that need to be provided in order to review modification waiver.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public here on the,
No, we did not have anybody.
okay,
Signed up to speak this evening.
all right.
So just a question, you proposing to leave this building like it is?
Yes.
So,
And- we haven't made a motion yet.
I'm just,
But what we're saying, what I would say is, and what I'm hearing from you, I think is a matter of opinion on what a nice building looks like. And I think that this is actually a very handsome building the way it is. Can you go and show the overall from Second Ave?
Yeah.
So, that this is a handsome building the way it is, and that the issues with it that detract from it are really the doors and the windows. The cornice up above, the brickwork needs to be painted. But I think we can point.
Wait.
Sorry.
You said the.
I'm talking about the decorative,
The metal.
the metal.
The metal, not the brickwork.
I said above the brickwork.
Above the.
I'm talking about
Okay.
not the brick, but I think that, to point to a successful project, that it was an abandoned school that is brick. You can look down the street at the old St. Joseph's Academy on Swan Street. Swan? No, what street is it on? It's not on Swan.
No, it is, it's on.
It's on Swan, North Swan. So if you go down the street here, there's
Swan
a
and First.
Swan and First. It was an abandoned school, looked a lot like this, it's been rehabilitated, it's a successful project, it has occupied apartments, it's an art center, people have their fundraising events there. So I think that demonstrates that many people would look at this building as it is, with new, restored, new windows, new doors, and say, this is a beautiful building. And I understand that could be a matter of opinion, but that's what I think, at least I'm saying on it. The other piece of this, the technical piece of it, is that putting the coating on the building would damage the brick, and you would end up with a much worse off building in a much shorter time than if you didn't even touch the brick at all. And so that is bad for the building, and then also bad for your pocketbook. But
Can I amend your list? Can you zoom into the stone base, the water table and right there? And so I'd like to.
Where, I'm sorry.
Where you are, just I want to look at the stone, maybe near the entrance on the right side, just if you can zoom in, yeah. So I would just suggest that we also add to the list some appropriate treatment of the stone masonry at the base. We've got areas of failure, we've got where some splotching has occurred with painting, and that can all be reasonably, not in a very complicated way, remedied. So I think with the list that you just identified, I would add treatment, appropriate restoration treatment there, if that works for you.
for me, yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't actually meaning to give a list.
No, it was a list, it was great, I just wanted to,
But yes,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
And in terms of removing where the city painted over the graffiti on the stone, it sounds like you've talked to Kara Macri, and I think that there could be alternatives.
I didn't talk to nobody actually, I just mentioned.
Oh.
it.
Kara Macri didn't speak with?
Karen Macri spoke with you at the last meeting
Oh,
outside.
oh, yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I apologize, the name.
so,
So can we help you? Is there any,
You guys are not actually helping me, but,
Okay. if we can help you, please,
no,
through staff, let us
I'm
know.
really willing to get help, but not this way. Now,
Okay.
I'm, for the last 17 years, a contractor. I did restoration buildings that are way older than this. We're talking about in Germany. And in my country too. The house where I live actually is half stone, half brick building. It's probably like 400 years old. And I keep as much as possible from that point. I do not have pictures at this stage, at this moment here. And I can guarantee you one thing, that this building will be more preserved and more safe if I can apply a coat of sealer and protection on top of it than to leave the brick exposed like you have it. I recommended one type of paint, but if you guys have a different kind of paint, I'm totally willing to agree on the different kind of paint, whatever it is. But cleaning this building, I did the pressure test myself because I was not able to trust my people. They don't have enough experience on all the buildings, and I did the pressure wash on the building myself. If you can zoom in just a little bit on this corner over here, this is the part where I started. The original building color is kind of orangish. The building itself has a reddish paint. Yes, it will wash off, like Mr. John Myers said, but it will be taking probably 30 years. After 30 years, I do not know if I'm still alive or not. Now, this part over here, I started in this part here, then I moved to the other side in Turner Street to try the stone. Even if in low pressure, the stone basically starts chipping, but it's kind of a blue stone, and they applied a sealer, what weathered from the sun and got like yellowish. It's not a paint, it's nothing, the stone is not, it's not a magnetic change from the stone, but it is a sealer what somebody applied whenever 10, 15, 20 years before, and it started like going to a yellow color. I don't even know, I cannot describe it. I try to power wash. I try to, in low pressure, and I try to increase it, and I see that it is just doing more damage at the brick and at the mortar and everything else. And just imagine if I have to power wash the entire building, how much damage this will be. If I spoke also to Forward Engineering, and I spoke also to Ruth Güse. She's an architect, other architect. I do not have a statement from her, but I spoke with her verbally. She's a good friend of mine. We did a lot of projects with her, and I asked her about the opinion of what kind of treatment should I use a solution on that, and none of them, not Ruth and the engineer or auto adjustment from Forward Engineering, they recommend me to use any kind of cleaner, because you will be just damaging the brick. The brick is in good condition, visible. The brick itself is in a good condition. But if you start treating it and you start power washing it, this building was there. You guys had the possibility to do whatever you wanted on it. And 20 years before, maybe will be totally the same thing, fine. But today, in this state, it's not possible anymore to keep the brick like it is, because after 5 years, 6 years, this will be then being really a big problem for me as the owner, because then I have to do extensive brick work, brick pointing again every 2 years, 3 years.
You
This will be,
shouldn't have to repoint every 2 or 3 years.
I'm pretty convinced that I will be ending up, if I leave the brick exposed like it is here, I will be ending up doing brick pointing every 2, 3 years and spending probably every third year like $20,000 to $30,000 on this exterior of this building. I know that you want to keep the building, but I'm pretty sure that by order to keep the building, you should not handicap a developer by investing or keep investing, because I will be definitely this will be definitely the last project what I will be doing over.
So
As for
Aaron and Jason,
my
how to proceed?
I think now would be an appropriate time to just, if you guys have asked all the questions and discussed what you want to discuss, it sounds like the board has their opinions. Now would be the time, probably I just have a motion and call to a vote.
I think, we've had previous discussion at the last meeting. I think, going around, better to just call it to a vote. We can, staff can continue to work with Nick. We can always.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Staff can continue to work with Nick.
Yes.
Provide additional information or resources that are needed. I know that Karen Macri has offered Historic Albany Foundation's resources. But I don't know what additional information can be provided at this time, and I think it would be best to just call to a vote.
I move
Would
to,
someone make a motion?
I'll move to deny the application to apply the coating on this building as specified in the application.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Only thing I think is that you're kind of taking a risk here by painting a hard face brick or trying to prevent you from doing that. But that's,
All right.
Okay.
We're in discussion?
I mean, there's a motion that's been
There's a
seconded,
motion.
so generally we
And
go
a
to
second.
vote.
Okay.
We should call this to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. We look forward to the next steps. We are open to suggestions and discoveries, and if new information becomes available, or if a hardship case is presented to staff, then that is certainly something that we could very seriously consider. But as it stands, what is being denied is the application of the locks-on paint as identified in this proposal on the brickwork and the stonework for the building.
Why can you not make it reverse? Why you don't recommend me which one you want me to use? Or which one is acceptable? And it will be totally more easy, I think. And I will be telling you, even if it's more expensive upfront for me, I do not care because it comes at the end cheaper for me. You have hundreds of buildings here in Albany that are painted. Not painted once, painted for the last 30, 40 years. I see a brick building right now from here. It's painted, and I remember it for the last 3 years it was painted. I'm not longer. I don't remember longer Albany. So paint itself, if it's done in the right way with the sealers and with the right treatment, is not damaging for the brick.
I have a question, if I may, for you. It would, if you think it's appropriate for you, we could probably develop just an outline scope of work about the type of treatment that we think would be appropriate. Because it sounds like we've talked about it, but I haven't seen that written. It's in bits and pieces, but that might be a constructive effort if you all think it's appropriate, and then if, at least for our records, I would think. So that's a question. Whether we provide it for the files and or if you would like to see that, but obviously it's kind of based on a no painting solution. So, and I'd be happy to work on that with whoever if you think that would be useful.
And that's something that maybe we can have a discussion offline about a little bit more in depth as to maybe what that would look like and
Okay.
if
You
there's
let
any
us know.
type of, deceptive in any type of situation, having something like that on record. So that would be something we can probably discuss
Yeah.
further with Jason and have
Okay.
that discussion offline to make sure that we're
Okay,
not.
I'll await your determination.
At this point, though, that was final disposition for this application, so you guys are certainly welcome to adjourn the meeting unless you have other business you'd like to discuss, but, or if you want to amend the decision you just made, you can do that, but otherwise, there's not much else, I think, to go over, so that was all that was on the agenda for today.
Okay.
How are things progressing inside? Just kind of curious myself.
We are basically done framing sheetrock, and I am almost on the finish. So, and I would love to get now before winter time on the exterior to work. Finally, I got approval from the windows from you guys, and now I have to wait for the bank till they come back and do all the draw in order to get the windows started. And in the meantime, I wanted also to start on the exterior.
Does it have a new roof?
Have the roof brand new. And I keep the details. I didn't want to touch anything of the details. By not telling me from the district, nobody told me to keep it because I bought the building like I loved it how it looked. With the idea to add a little bit more value.
So Aaron Tobin did have one additional question to bring up this evening in regards to, let me pull up your email. So
Do you have a link to the code language? Because I don't.
that's the I don't know if you want to.
So
Set
I
up the-
reached
set
out
up
to
the-
Chris, Aaron, and Commissioner Myers about the section of the building code that relates to, and I'm just trying to pull it up on my phone, sorry for.
No, it's okay. I'm just,
That relates to historic buildings and the commission being notified when there is building demolitions and receiving reports from the Department of Buildings, including engineering assessments. And
This
it's,
isn't building code, this is
it's the code, well, it's a zoning code.
it's zoning code.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's the, under power to act in emergencies, and it's section, well, two sections were amended in 2021, section E and section F. But it was section F in particular that says whenever an action is taken or proposed to be taken under this section in relation to a landmark or property within a historic district, the commissioner of buildings shall provide timely notification of the order for such action to members of the Historic Resources Commission at the earliest time possible, and to the extent practicable, the commissioner of buildings shall additionally provide the following information related to the emergency action: a description, structural engineering report, a detailed statement of work, a timetable for completion of phases, a site plan, photographs, prior code violations, description of any salvageable historic materials. So this was pointed out by former city council member Richard Conti in a Facebook discussion about the demolition on Madison Ave. And it occurred to me, and I remember when this became part of the zoning code, and we've discussed this, I think you've brought this up many times, that we don't receive those engineering reports. And certainly over the last several years, there have been emergency demolitions and we haven't gotten any reports. And to the extent that the city should be talking to us, it's codified, and I wanted to raise that at a formal commission meeting.
I think what would be useful, so what you're reading is about the engineer's report. But when it is we started to work through this many years ago, there were quarterly or annual reports that I think cooperatively, somehow the Department of Buildings and either we intended to be cooperative or it was required that we collaborate to the council, to the common council.
But I don't think that's
I don't know
in
that happens.
zoning
That's
code.
not,
Separate section.
it's separate
Yeah.
section.
Okay.
Review of
And it
emergency
is-
actions, supposed to be
Okay.
yearly report.
There,
Yeah.
it is under, chapter 133 of the city code.
Okay, but
Um,
this speaks to individual actions.
So this does, so it is, and I will say, for the longest time, I was sending them out, I was adding them to a Dropbox and sending out links to the Dropbox to the members and notifying them. Some of the numbers of demolitions within historic districts have gone down, they haven't gone away. We will be doing a much better job at sending out the notices. Now, sometimes we do receive the structural reports, they're in the Dropbox.
Members, meaning we members or
Members,
common
yes,
council?
Commission members.
Commission members, okay.
What you're talking about is separate from what Aaron has brought up tonight. Although they are kind of, related in a way that what's in the report that goes to the common council is based off of the information that we received from the building department. Both in the notices that we received and the quarterly reports that we did receive but no longer receive. So we do still receive the notices. We receive the notices, whether it's in a historic district or it's not. They come to both myself and Chris from both Rick and Val. Valerie Scott, who's the deputy director of the building department, has it automated, so it comes directly to me.
Okay.
Now, sometimes getting the engineering report takes a much longer time if we get them at all. Sometimes it depends on the entity that owns the building, like the county and whatnot.
Yeah.
So depending on when we get those.
Well, engineering is just one of the bullets. I think what, because there's
Well, a lot of
things
the
here.
information that is listed as bulleted is in the structural report.
Okay.
So, but we're not, getting a lot of that bulleted information when we received the notice, but it's in the structural report, so images of the structure, they're able to get into the building to document that. Sometimes in an emergency situation, we're just getting exterior photos, but,
So like the building that came down that we had already approved the rehabilitation project for over in Clinton Ave.
yes,
Did you get an engineering report for that?
I think, did I provide that at a meeting?
And I might have just forgotten, I'm just asking, like, I'm not
I
saying.
looked over a site assessment, but I thought, and again, this, I might be wrong, wasn't that, they didn't
That
provide
was
the
all, that
exhibit
was,
count?
that was the engineering report,
Okay,
was
so
the
we did
site
receive that.
assessment. I'm trying to think if did I provide, do you have any recollection of that?
We had talked about it because we had looked at the photos, because the commission, I remember Lee specifically had
Yes,
spoken
I
about,
did,
like, he was like,
yes.
that's just a drain.
That information was provided, but I can research it, but yes, we did
Okay.
receive that.
If we got it,
was not what you would necessarily consider a structural engineering
maybe
report.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
not thinking that I mean, I
It
guess,
was a one-page letter
yes.
with, I think, one page of some interior, but mostly exterior photographs.
So if my memory is correct, this is about, there were a number of benefits of this process and the larger process that had been set up. One was documentation. One was just documentation. Two was we talked about, when we were getting information on the costs of the demolition, that was aligned to a conversation about what about those costs going to stabilization, right? And I know that Commissioner McEnany was very interested in whatever documentation was available for the archives of the city relative to these buildings. So is this worthy of kind of an effort, collective effort on whoever wants to work on this on our part to take a look at those last reports that we do have, identify the ones we didn't get and or any additional information that would be.
Well, and there are reports that we owe that we have not gotten
Yeah.
information in order to develop a
But
report.
you don't have to stay
So-
involved, that's just so you know.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was still waiting, I have to go start now.
Yes,
Yeah,
go.
you're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so if it's a bigger conversation there and you're concerned, I'm happy to kind of discuss this with whoever else might want to kind of pull the pieces together, whatever the momentum got slowed,
Yeah, I mean,
including our responsibilities.
and I guess I don't know what our responsibilities specifically, we could be reminded of those responsibilities.
I can draft up something and share with you guys at the next meeting, anything like that.
So,
That would be great,
Staff can kind of prepare stuff.
that would be great.
Great.
And I just wanted to make an official note of our awareness of this code, that we're having the conversation, that you're aware, that we did get the report for the building on
Yes,
Clinton
we
Ave,
did get the
and I
report.
forgot.
Yeah, we did.
I will resend it to you.
You don't have to, but if you want.
If you really wanna
I remember it more now.
read a one-page
Yeah,
letter.
I think I was just so upset by it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of that effort was to try to grab onto the demos that occurred, to understand the cost of the demolition and to see how those funds could instead, it's a little complicated,
Yeah.
we've talked a lot with Rick, but.
I think financially, some of that was a concern, but I think the bigger thing was just, there's a board that is charged with, making sure that the historical structures in the city of Albany, within our district and outside of our district, are
Okay.
preserved and have a future. And in a lot of cases, I think, from what some of the, Richard Hunt putting this forward initially, hearing that from some of the residents that concerns about loss of material, loss of historic structure, and that the board itself is being left out of kind of being aware of what was taking place within the historic districts.
You know what else came up in those conversations long ago is on the row houses, how were the adjacent buildings being treated because all of a sudden interior walls were exposed as not intended. We had that down in the south end, I forgot her name.
Yeah, on Clinton Street.
On Clinton Street, yeah. So that was part of the whole conversation as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'll point out that from what I guess, Pam Howard posted something about the demolition that's currently taking place in Madison Ave, and it sounds like there's great attention being given, from what she said, to protect the adjacent building. So it was good to read.
well, hold on. The building on Madison, the adjacent building collapsed because of the I'm sorry, Upper Madison, long ago. Remember,
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
with the new construction and then the half
adjacent
of the building collapsed.
because of the demolition process.
No, that wasn't a demolition, that was new construction.
You're talking about the one on Madison Avenue that split in half that one day?
Yeah, in 2010.
That was
Yeah.
a while.
Are
I saw that one.
Yeah,
That was new construction, so they were not demolishing a building next door, they were driving piles for a new infill building
Right.
that then
Oh,
undermined.
yeah, that undermined the
the
adjacent.
foundation of the
Okay.
adjacent building and caused it to split in half.
Sort of like what's happened on Clinton Ave.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, just recently.
So the concern is, one, does the demolition process endanger adjacent properties? That's number one. And number two
100%,
is,
Well,
when that building is gone, are the adjacent buildings stable, structurally stable, because they rely on each other to hold up? A, and B, are they thermally, from a building enclosure standpoint, and a thermal standpoint, are they sound? Okay, lots to talk about, Jason.
Gotta agree with that.
I don't know,
Did you
I
get all
can't
that?
tell you
We'll
much about the
talk.
thermal ceiling
Oh,
and
you
things like
will.
that, but
Jason,
I can read the law,
We'll
I
have a
have a
meeting.
memo.
You went to the preservation conference?
Yeah,
you That's hung out true. with
me.
That's true.
You're all set now.
I read a technical report on paint tonight while you guys were all talking, so I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Okay.
Did you Google elastomeric coating?
I Googled whatever the one in that engineering report was, and I read the Sherwin-Williams bio.
Yeah, Okay.
I can't understand why.
All right, I'm done. Should we move to adjourn?
I would
Did
entertain
I?
a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Guys?
Thank you.
Hold on.
hold on.